Yep. Someone's already saying that fool is tilling up his yard. And he's got good grass too. Why is he doing that? Yep. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time. No, not just till up my yard. This hump that was put out here by the prior landowner has irritated us since before we moved in. We knew the day that we bought this place that we would eventually remove this hump. Well, we're going to do that this week. Not all of it in this episode, but we're getting a start. Speaking of which, let's get started. I always ask my customers to kill their sod with Roundup or some other, total weed killer before I'll till their property, and then I don't do mine. Yeah, why? Well, laziness, I guess. And I wasn't sure we were going to get to this, so I wanted to be sure. So I'm just tilling it like it is. 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was really dry. The grass was really brown. It wouldn't have mattered. But then we had a couple of rains, enough to turn the grass green, and so now it does matter. I should have evaluated the wind direction a little bit before I started, because going this direction, the dust is just staying right with me. There's maybe a 1 mile per hour breeze in this direction. So yeah, probably should have done that, but hey, I've already started now. I should tell you a little history, a little story about this hump. Of course, it was put here before we moved here, or before we even knew this place existed. But the most obvious part of the story is that the hump is here because of the pond. So the dirt from the pond was just piled out here in a hump. But the more interesting part of the story is apparently the prior landowner did not really care about getting a pond. He was wanting to build a big hump in his yard as a barrier, a privacy barrier of sorts. At least that's what we're told. Now, this guy wasn't the type of guy that communicated a lot in the neighborhood, so we don't know for sure that that's the case, but that's the story we're told, is that he wanted the hump, and he actually envisioned this hump being as high as the power poles. He wanted it to essentially cover the power lines in the front there. Well, he failed. So he ended up with a hump that in our opinion has always been ugly. And so we really believe we're adding value to our property by leveling this out. I'll tell you a little more about what we're going to do with it in a minute. But first, a little bit more about that history. Our understanding is that he worked for an organization that does recycling down here, and it's recycling of organic material. You can take brush there and everything. If you're local, it's called Green Cycle. He worked out a deal with them to be able to borrow one of their dirt pans, one of their big dirt scrapers, when they weren't using it. Well, it turns out the only time they weren't using it was during the week of Christmas. So he dug that pond in a day or two, or maybe it was a week, we're not sure, and created this pile of dirt with a dirt pan over the Christmas holiday season. I'm not exactly sure how well that worked out, because typically it's pretty wet that time of year. I'm pretty sure that this tiller is tougher than my King Cutter tiller. Heavier or something. it seems to be doing a better job of tilling this sod than I expected. Hey, it's Catril Marks Mobile. Catril decided she wanted to join today's video. She thought this would be fun, so she's on via FaceTime.
No, I wasn't kidding. Catril called, and through the miracle of these ISO tunes, I was able to continue tilling. And I had her on FaceTime, and so she was able to see what we were doing and hear me, and I was able to hear her. We talked here for quite a while, but meanwhile, Christy was capturing some pretty fascinating drone shots. So we'll just quiet down and watch from here.
So let me tell you a little about the plan of attack. We're going to use all little tractors. Johnny 5 is going to be the biggest tractor involved in this project if we're successful. Our plan is to use only tractors owned by or controlled by our extended family and us. So in other words, all of our tractors plus my dad's 3320. My late father's 3320. Tom and Randall are going to be here. You're going to see it in the next episode. We will get started. So our plan is to have Johnny 5 on the disc, and we'll keep this loosened as well as kind of spreading out or leveling out where we're dumping. And then we're going to have several other tractors with box blades. That's intended to be the approach. And of course, you've seen a lot of times when you start something like that, we may end up doing something different. Now, a lot of you are saying already, why don't you just get a bulldozer out there and do it? Well, we could, but hey, this seemed like a fun way to try it, and it's a huge hump of dirt. We want to see if we can move it like this. If we can't, we'll find somebody that's got bigger equipment, and we'll get it out here. I'm just wanting to make sure you come back and see the follow-up episodes on this, because I think it's going to be fun. We're allocating 1 or maybe 2 days to move this hump of dirt. So yeah, we're pretty excited about it. This is, I would say, step 2 on our yard rehab and drainage project. Step 1 was the swale that we created over there on the property line. We did that last fall. Step 2 here is really not going to improve the drainage at all. But we'll get this spread out a little bit. And step 3 then will be to route that drainage from the road. The biggest part of the drainage we get in here comes from the road, and we will route that either along the road ditch if we get permission from the county, or we'll come through our yard if we have to with a ditch that goes straight to the ditch in the soybean field behind us, so that it does not fill and overflow our pond or fill and overflow this tile that you see back here, this standpipe that you see. So that's kind of the steps that we're going through at this point. There will be another step later on to work on the pond, but I hope you kind of see that we're planning this out one piece at a time, mainly because we don't have a lot of time to deal with it, and then secondarily because we'd rather do this with our equipment if we can, just for the fun of it. So obviously we could have big equipment in here. Maybe we could even get Dirt Perfect up here, and we may still do so. But we could probably have them do it all at once. But with this approach, we get to do a lot of the work ourselves and, well, have a lot of the fun ourselves. Beautiful, beautiful evening. The weather is wonderful here. Now, right now, the drainage from that road ditch comes right around this end of the hump. And for this step that we're doing here, we're not going to change that. I have talked to the local surveyor, and he's going to come out and evaluate, but we may be doing this before he comes out. So I want to make sure that I'm not changing anything at this point. The drainage will be just like it is today when we're finished with this step of the project. I know it seems kind of strange to be fixing a drainage project yet not making any change in the actual drainage, right? This tilling's going faster than I thought it might, really. And I think I may only till it once. It's really crumbling up that sod pretty nicely. So I don't think I'll till it more than just this once. I don't know when this pond was dug, when all this took place. We have a Street View from Google, and the photos from Street View were taken in 2012, so 10 years ago, and it was all just like this. So it was done prior to 2012. Be interesting to hear your comments. What do you think about these projects and how we've handled them? The swale over here has worked very well. We had a couple of problems with it that we might even fix tomorrow, one of them. One of them is that the levee on the far end essentially broke. It wasn't quite tall enough and it wasn't quite deep enough. So we may take some of this soil down there, a couple bucketfuls, and spread out down there. Other than that, it worked very well. We also need to keep the road ditch water out of the pond, and we made a little kind of a makeshift levee over there, and it again failed after a little while. So we may take some dirt over there in the next episode as well. We don't know what kind of soil we're going to find here. We know that obviously it was the pond dug out, so there's going to be some that's going to be subsoil, some probably pretty poor subsoil. However, the topsoil was really good here, and that pond was made where there was a low-lying area. I suspect there was a lot of topsoil, probably in the neighborhood of 4 feet of topsoil. So I'm thinking that there's a good bit of topsoil here. It's not just going to be horrible fill dirt. I do expect we'll find some big rocks when we begin to dig into this that he's covered up. And I'm just wondering if we have a good enough mix of topsoil and subsoil that we can just spread it out and get grass to grow on it again and hopefully grow pretty well. That's my hope. I just don't know. What I see right now is good topsoil. But again, it's been here over 10 years. The grass that's grown here has probably built a 2 to 3 inch layer of new topsoil. So yeah, we're pretty good on that already. I don't have my jam nut tight on my top link, so it's vibrating down. If you weren't aware, that's what that nut is for on the top. You get your 3-point set where you want it, and then you tighten that jam nut down against it, and it won't vibrate loose. So yet another example of do what I say, don't do what I do. I've been trying to share our oil temperature, hydraulic oil temperatures with you. We've been running here for maybe 25 minutes, and the hydraulic oil temperature is almost up to 180. What I'm seeing, my anecdotal observations are that pulling the tractor hard, not PTO, but actually having something that we're pulling, like a tillage implement or a box blade or pushing with the loader really hard continuously, especially when you make the pressure relief valve go off in the hydrostatic transmission. That's when the oil heats up the most. In a prior project, we were seeing the oil up in the 230s. But here it's about 180 after 20 minutes or so, so doing fine on that. Interesting thing is I don't see a lot of difference between Johnny X and the stock Johnny on this topic, so far at least. I'm really glad that I put the gauges on both tractors though, because that's helping to confirm that Johnny X is not overtaxing it too much. I could have used the 3R with the 6-foot tiller for this project. Probably would be done by now, but I don't know. I've had the 3R in several videos recently, and I just decided I would use this tractor. I really think this is one of the best fits for a 1025R is tilling. A 4-foot tiller on a 1025R is a wonderful combination. It's really hard to be beat. Christy, you're not the only pilots in the sky tonight. We've got 2 other pilots over there with their parachutes. I guess you could buzz them with your drone, but that probably wouldn't be legal. The sunset is absolutely beautiful. We've got about 3 or 4 more minutes before official sunset, I guess. And by that time, I'll have most of this completed. There was some really good grass here that I'm tearing up. I do feel bad about that. It's hard to get a good, consistent grass stand, especially if you don't water. And it's going to be hard for us to water out here. The good news is that the time of year is going to be right. By the time we get this all done and we're ready to seed, should be a good time for it. Attila the Hump. Or Till Baby Till. How should we title it? Well, we're almost done, and it's almost dark. I say we're almost done. We're really just getting started, right? But I'm excited about this one. I don't know if there'll be 1 more episode, 2 more episodes. I guess it just depends on how it goes. But please come back. If the episode's already out, you're going to see it right here at the end of the video. You're going to see it in the end screen, and you can see the next episode there. If not, you may have to wait just a few days. Meanwhile, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim.
A voice cries out, "In the wilderness, clear a way for the Lord. Build a level road through the Rift Valley for our God. Every valley must be elevated, and every mountain and hill leveled. The rough terrain will become a level plain, the rugged landscape a wide valley. The splendor of the Lord will be revealed, and all the people will see it at the same time, for the Lord has decreed it."